My sister planned a surprise party for her boyfriend using the bonus I secretly gave her, and when she called me just the backup plan during a toast, I smiled and said, "Guess who's actually been dating him behind your back?" I don't even know how to start this without sounding like the villain. Maybe I am. But I also know I spent a lifetime cleaning up my sister's messes and putting her first. A month ago, at a party I secretly helped fund, she humiliated me in front of 40 people. So I humiliated her back. During a toast, she laughed and called me just the backup plan in front of everyone. I smiled, raised my glass, and said, "Guess who's actually been dating him behind your back?" It was nuclear. My sister Nora and I have always had a complicated relationship. She's 6 years younger, effortlessly charming, and unapologetically impulsive. I'm not. I'm the older sister who made lists and savings accounts and appointments. When our parents died in a car crash 16 years ago, I became her de facto parent overnight. I was 26. She was 20. I handled the estate, the funeral, the court hearings. She ran off to Vegas with a guy she'd known for 3 weeks. That kind of dynamic followed us for years. She'd blow up her life, I'd help pick up the pieces. I wasn't trying to martyr myself, it just felt like my responsibility. Maybe that's the part that makes this so hard to explain. I didn't betray her because I hated her. I betrayed her because I was exhausted from being the one she always stepped on. I work in finance. Pretty dry stuff, honestly. I'm good at what I do, and last December, I received a $25,000 bonus I hadn't been expecting. I was going to use it to pay off my car and maybe fix my outdated kitchen. But then Nora called crying again. She was living in a studio apartment in Capitol Hill with her boyfriend Zane, barely making rent, and her marketing job at some boutique hotel was slashing hours. She said, "Ria, I know you're not a bank, I swear. I just need some breathing room." I wired her $5,000 the next morning without hesitation. She never asked how I could afford it. She never offered to pay it back. She just texted a string of crying emojis and a "you're the best sister in the universe." That was a Tuesday. By the following Saturday, she was planning a surprise birthday experience for Zane. At first, I didn't think much of it. I assumed she was throwing him a cake and beer type of night. But then I heard from our cousin Meredith that Nora had reserved a private dining room at Canlis. For those of you who aren't from Seattle, that's a $300 a head place with a dress code and a 6-week reservation waitlist. Nora was having sushi flown in from Japan. She'd booked a rooftop with a DJ. She even commissioned a cake shaped like Zane's favorite guitar. The math didn't match. I didn't ask where the money came from. I knew. But what could I say? I helped you pay rent, not throw a $10,000 party for a man who doesn't love you. Because, on him, he didn't love her. I knew that. I knew because I'd been sleeping with him for the last 3 months. God, that looks so much worse written down. But let me explain. I met Zane by accident. Or maybe not. He and I ran into each other at a coffee shop downtown. I recognized him from a picture on Nora's Instagram, a tall, sharp-featured guy with dark hair and quiet, observant eyes. I was surprised he recognized me too. "Ria?" he said. "Nora's sister?" I nodded. We chatted. He was polite, articulate, more emotionally intelligent than any of Nora's previous partners. He asked about my job, my hobbies, and my parents. Not in a probing way, just real conversation. We bumped into each other again 2 weeks later at a tech conference. I was speaking on a panel. He was attending as a guest with his friend's startup. We had lunch in the lobby. It felt natural. Easy. The third time was when he dropped his wallet near my office building. I found it and texted Nora to tell her. She said she'd have him swing by to pick it up. He arrived after hours. We had coffee. It lasted 3 hours. And that was the beginning. The actual thing didn't happen until weeks later. It started with messages, then late-night walks, then a kiss that I wish I could pretend I resisted. But I didn't. I wanted him. He wanted me. And somewhere in the mess of it all, I stopped feeling guilty. Why? Because Nora never really loved him. Not in the way that counts. She loved the idea of him. The accessory of his. He was handsome, had a good job, and made her look stable by proximity. I know my sister. She's never loved someone more than she loved the reflection of herself she sees in their eyes. That probably makes me sound bitter. I was. Still am. Zane and I never talked about what we were doing in any real way. It was a secret. A wrong thing. We met in places where no one would know us, said vague things like "What are we doing?" without ever answering. It was impulsive and dumb. But it was also the first time in my life I felt chosen. Until the night of the party. The party was like something out of a magazine. It was March, the weather was cold, but Nora had rented heaters and placed candles everywhere. Waiters served fancy cocktails and hors d'oeuvres with French names. The guest list was 40 people deep in coworkers, friends, acquaintances from her yoga class. Most of them I didn't know. Nora floated through the crowd like a queen, all teeth and champagne. She was wearing a gold slip dress, hair curled, makeup flawless. Zane stood beside her, stiff, quiet. He had barely looked at me since I walked in. Around 10:45 p.m., Nora called for everyone's attention. She tapped her glass and said, "I just want to say a quick thank you to everyone who came out tonight, and especially to the amazing man this is all for." She turned to Zane and kissed his cheek. And of course, a big thanks to my sister Rhea, who always comes through in a pinch. She's basically my backup plan for everything. There was laughter. Not malicious. Just awkward, tipsy laughter. My jaw tightened. I sipped my drink and felt something in my brain click like a light switch. She called me to her backup plan. After everything. I didn't hesitate. I stepped forward, smiled politely, and said, "Well, since we're all sharing tonight, guess who's actually been dating him behind your back?" The room froze. Zane's face was drained of color. Nora blinked, confused. What? I've been seeing Zane. For a while now. Thought you should know. Someone dropped a glass. The silence that followed my confession was heavy enough to press against my chest. People glanced around nervously, waiting for someone to say something to defuse the explosive I'd just dropped. Zane stared at the floor, jaw tense, his hands motionless at his sides. Nora looked like she'd just stepped off a spinning ride, eyes wide, expression unreadable, body slightly swaying as if the room had tilted beneath her. For a full 10 seconds, she didn't say a word. She didn't scream, didn't cry. She just blinked at me, and then turned to Zane with a slow, almost theatrical turn of her head. "You're joking," she said, finally. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Zane opened his mouth, but no words came out. A couple of their friends started backing away, trying to blend into the wallpaper. It was one of those surreal social moments where everyone suddenly becomes hyper-aware that they're part of someone else's life imploding. And then Nora laughed. It wasn't a loud or maniacal laugh, just a sharp, single sound, as if the ridiculousness of the moment had finally caught up to her. "Unbelievable," she said, more to herself than anyone else. "I throw you a bone, let you be part of my life, let you hang out with my friends, and this is what I get. Let me hang out with her friends?" It was such a bizarre thing to say that for a moment. I genuinely thought she might be drunker than I realized. But when I saw it, she wasn't drunk. She was embarrassed. Humiliated in front of a crowd, in a moment she thought was hers to shine. And now, all eyes were on me. I didn't enjoy it, exactly. I just didn't regret it. Nora suddenly turned to Zane. "So it's true?" she asked, voice rising. "You're screwing my sister behind my back?" He still didn't speak. That was the final blow. The way he looked at her, cold, guilty, and blank, told her more than words ever could. She pushed past him and stormed out of the room. A couple of her friends followed, murmuring things like let her have some space and I think she needs air. Zane, to his credit, didn't chase after her. He looked at me and said, "You didn't have to say it like that." I raised an eyebrow. "Would you have preferred I sent a group text?" He didn't laugh. He didn't even smirk. He just sighed and walked to the bar, poured himself another drink, and sat down like it wasn't his world unraveling. The room thinned out quickly after that. No one wanted to stick around for the aftermath. They were whispering, texting, probably planning which version of the story to tell over brunch the next morning. I stood in the corner for a few minutes, letting the silence settle. I could hear the DJ still playing, oblivious upstairs. The caterers didn't know what to do. A waiter came by and asked if I'd like a refill. I shook my head and walked out. Outside, the March air was biting. The clouds above the Queen Anne rooftop had turned a charcoal gray, threatening rain. I didn't have a coat, just a thin black shawl I'd worn to look elegant, as Nora had told me to when she insisted on a dress code for the party. I walked down the stairs, past the cars, and kept walking until I found myself near Cary Park. The city lights blinked below like nothing had happened. I sat on a bench and let the numbness set in. I didn't cry. I didn't shake. I didn't feel much at all. Just tired. Tired in a way that wasn't about the body but about the years. The years of being second. Of being leaned on, borrowed from, talked over. The years of being the responsible one who held things together so other people could live their messy, brilliant lives without consequence. I realized something in that moment. My worst decision hadn't been sleeping with Zane. It was believing that helping Nora meant she'd ever see me as an equal. I waited until my fingers started going numb from the cold, then I walked home. The next day, my phone was a minefield. 15 missed calls from Nora. 4 from Zane. 2 voicemails from mutual friends. A string of unread texts ranging from "What the heck happened? Are you okay? I can't believe you did that." I didn't reply to any of them. I called out sick from work and stayed in bed with my phone on Do Not Disturb, my curtains drawn, and an old romantic comedy playing on loop, not because I was heartbroken, but because I needed the world to feel distant. Around noon, Zane texted, "She knows everything. I'm sorry. I didn't mean for it to happen like this." And then, "I'll give you space." I stared at those words, "to give you space," and felt a strange wave of gratitude. Not because he was trying to do the right thing now, but because I finally saw it for what it was, a man who was never worth the damage. Not to Nora. Not to me. Later that week, Nora came to my condo. She didn't knock right away. I saw her through the peephole standing there, arms crossed, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. When I opened the door, she didn't launch into an attack. She didn't scream. She just said, "I need to know how long." 3 months, I said. She winced. "I thought you hated him," she whispered. "I thought you loved him," I replied. She looked away. "I don't know anymore." There was a long pause between us. The kind of pause that fills a chasm and then seals it shut. "I didn't mean what I said during the toast," she murmured. "I was trying to be funny." "I didn't think it would. You meant it," I said quietly. "And that's okay. But don't pretend now." She flinched like I'd slapped her. Neither of us cried. I think we both cried out. Nora just nodded and walked away. She didn't slam the door. She didn't say goodbye. She just left. And I didn't stop her. I didn't hear from her for almost a month. Not a single message. No late-night calls. No passive-aggressive memes shared on Instagram. Just silence. The kind that leaves a strange hollowness behind, especially when that person has been part of your daily life for, well, your entire life. At first, it felt like relief. But the longer the silence lasted, the more it felt like something else, grief. We weren't just sisters. We were the only 2 people left from our family. After our parents died, it was just us through holidays and hospital visits, through moving apartments and calling each other in the middle of the night when something went wrong. We didn't always get along, but we always came back to each other. Until now. I didn't know what to do with that. I threw myself into work, even took on extra projects to keep my mind busy. My kitchen stayed half renovated, tiles ordered but unopened. The place felt quieter than usual. Emptier. I thought about adopting a dog just to have something breathing in the house. Zane tried once more to reach out, about 3 weeks after the party. He emailed me of all things, emailed some long-winded apology, detailing how conflicted he'd felt the entire time, how much he'd respected me, how none of it was planned. I read the first few lines and deleted it. I didn't need his explanations. What I needed was to feel clean again. And he was a reminder that I wasn't. After the party, it came out through our cousin Meredith that Nora had left their apartment. Packed up her things while Zane was at work and moved in with a friend in Fremont. She'd even quit her job, which didn't surprise me. When Nora unraveled, she didn't do it halfway. She lit the whole thing on fire and started over. I wondered if she'd do that with me, too. Just wipe the board clean and pretend I never existed. One afternoon, I found a photo of the two of us buried in a drawer taken on the Oregon coast the summer after our parents died. I was standing behind her with both arms wrapped around her shoulders like I was trying to keep her from floating away. She had sand in her hair, but she was smiling, eyes squinting into the sun. We looked like sisters. Not just by blood, but by bond. That's what hurt the most. I didn't just betray her. I broke something between us that may never be fixed. About 5 weeks after the party, I got a text from Nora. I left your books and that cast iron skillet at your front door. Didn't want to keep them. I opened the door and there they were, my belongings, neatly stacked in a Trader Joe's bag, as if we were exes dividing property. There was a small envelope taped to the bag. No name on it. Just a piece of notebook paper folded once. I stared at it for a long time before opening it. There were only 2 lines. I don't forgive you. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But I'll always love you. You're still my sister. That was all. I sat on the floor of my hallway, holding the note like it was something sacred and radioactive at the same time. It didn't make me feel better. It didn't absolve me. But it gave me something real. Something that wasn't performance or anger or chaos. Something that felt like Nora. A week later, Meredith reached out. She's okay, she said, not even bothering with small talk. Still mad as heck. But okay. I nodded, though she couldn't see me through the phone. And you? Meredith asked. You okay? I'm not sure yet, I admitted. But I think I'm getting there. There was a pause on the other end. Then she said, she thought you were perfect, you know. You were the one who always had it figured out. She hated that and needed it at the same time. I didn't say anything. I didn't know how to respond to that. She's human, Meredith continued. So are you. You both just ran out of grace. She wasn't wrong. We'd spent years giving each other slack, and then one day boom. Rope snapped. There was nothing left to pull us back together. Or maybe there still was. I didn't know. But I kept that note. Taped it inside the back cover of one of my journals like a promise I hadn't decided whether to believe in yet. The party was the last time I saw Zane. I'd heard through someone that he moved to San Diego for a new job. Probably the cleanest way out of the disaster he helped make. I didn't hate him, not anymore. He was weak, sure. Dishonest. But I had to own my part in all of it. I could have walked away. I didn't. I stayed because, for once in my life, I wanted to feel chosen. But being chosen doesn't mean anything when you have to destroy someone else to get there. It doesn't last. It doesn't fill the hole it promises to. I learned that the hard way. Life moves on, as it does. The emails stopped. The whispers faded. The mutual friends split like children of divorce, some siding with Nora, some trying to stay neutral. I didn't push. I didn't reach out. I let it all settle where it would. But the thing about silence is it creates space. And in that space, you start to see things more clearly: who you are, what you've done, and what you still have left to rebuild. Even if it's not with the people you thought would be there. About 2 months after the party, I was back at my favorite bookstore cafe on Pine Street. The one where I'd first run into Zane. It was a cold, rainy Saturday morning, the kind where the sky stays gray all day and the sidewalks gleam with puddles. I'd just ordered a black coffee when I saw her. Nora. She was standing near the memoir section in a long wool coat, umbrella folded at her feet. Her hair was darker now, no longer that buttery blonde she used to highlight every month. She looked thinner. Tired, but pulled together. She hadn't seen me. I don't know why, but I walked over. "Hey," I said, voice low. She turned, blinking, caught off guard. Her shoulders stiffened, but she didn't walk away. "Hi," she said. It was quiet between us for a moment. I didn't know what I was expecting, maybe a slap, maybe a hug. But instead, we just stood there like strangers in a city neither of us recognized anymore. "Coffee?" I asked. "My treat." She hesitated, then nodded. We sat by the window, 2 chairs angled just far enough apart to feel casual. I didn't bring up the party. Neither did she. Instead, we talked around it about how her friend in Fremont had adopted a rescue dog. How my office was going fully remote. How we both know we refused to eat sushi. After an hour, Nora stood. "I'm not ready to pretend everything's fine," she said. "I'm not pretending," I replied. She nodded once, then added, "But I don't want to hate you anymore." And just like that, she walked out. It was the smallest olive branch in the world, but it was something. A few weeks later, I finally did something with the rest of that bonus. I'd been sitting on it for months, unsure of how to spend it. And then I had a thought: what would Petty Rhea do? So I called a contact I had in local real estate, someone I'd worked with on a budgeting project last year. I asked him to let me know if any units opened in Nora's old building, the one she'd shared with Zane. Turns out, the landlord had been trying to release their apartment since she moved out. Zane hadn't been paying rent for 2 months. He'd disappeared. The landlord wanted someone stable. Long-term. Preferably quiet and employed. So I rented it. It was petty. It was unnecessary. But it felt damn good. I didn't actually move in. I used it as an Airbnb rental, professionally cleaned, perfectly staged, and carefully priced just below market to attract couples who, ironically, were searching for a romantic Seattle escape. Each time a booking came through, I smiled. I wasn't profiting off Zane's memory. I was repurposing it. Eventually, I added a little twist: a guest book. Just a simple leather-bound journal on the entry table where couples could write about their stay. And 1 page in, right at the front, I wrote a note. "This place has seen some heartbreak. But it's been reclaimed. May it now hold only laughter, love, and no lies." Our Nora and I never fully returned to the way things were. But slowly, something new grew between us. It wasn't the clingy, codependent bond we had before, where I fixed things and she broke them. It was 2 adults, separate but still tethered by blood, rebuilding something from scratch. She got a new job at a local nonprofit. She stopped bleaching her hair. She even started therapy, for real this time, not the Instagrammable kind. We texted occasionally, met for coffee every few weeks. And on my birthday that year, she mailed me a card. Inside it said, "You were wrong to do what you did. But I was wrong for a very long time before that. Thank you for waking me up, even if it shattered everything. I'm trying. I hope you are too." That was Nora. Messy, contradictory, and painfully honest. I wrote her back with no grand declarations. Just, trying every day. Sometimes revenge is loud. Explosive. final. But sometimes, the most satisfying revenge is not the destruction of another person, it's reclaiming the space they once made small. It's rising above the role they cast you in and writing your own part. I didn't get the man. I didn't have a perfect family. But I got peace. And that, for once, was enough.